Proud to have the other guys with me. I'm Winfred Burns II. I am the CEO of Global Job Network. Usually, you all see me here for the scoop on Tuesdays, but tonight I wanted to, and every so often you guys see us come and do some talk with some real men. Do some men talk. So that's what we're doing tonight. So before we get started, please do me a favor and hit that share button. Hit the share button, and or you can, if you know some men who need to talk, tag them. You can tag them specifically, or just hit the share button. We're gonna be taking questions as we have this conversation. So y'all, please feel free to hit the share button as we get started. All right. Drop your comments, and we will be able to put them on the screen, or we'll be able to let you all, we'll be able to go through them. So please be patient with us if we're trying to get to as many of the questions as we can. So before we get started, I'm going to let these gentlemen introduce themselves. I'll let my brothers introduce themselves real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start. We'll start with Clay, then we'll go with Wesley, and then we'll do T. James. So we'll go in that order. And hold on, I gotta go grab some real quick. So y'all go ahead and get started. Introduce yourself, who you are, where you from, and we'll go from there. I'll be right back.
It's on you, Clay.
Yep.
My name is Clay Dewberry. Seward, Oklahoma. Round way of Guthrie, Oklahoma, and just glad to be here and talk with these brothers. Kyle, over to you.
Wes White, right here, by way of Dallas, Texas, and glad to be here. And hope we can give you something that you can take with you.
That's all you really said. Listen, of all the people who I know gonna have a whole lot to say, you gotta give them a you gotta give them the hand thing or something.
Oh, the hand thing will come in just a minute. It's gonna come.
All right, don't act shy now. Listen, I'm gonna need y'all to don't get cowed tonight. So
it might go ahead. It might go.
Right.
Listen, man, I can't. I just want to apologize for what happened. I don't know what's going to happen. So, okay.
All right, go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I don't know if I should turn on my preacher.
Nope.
And put on my glasses and nothing. But hello, world. Terry James. So glad to be here tonight. First timer on this bad boy, but hopefully things are definitely gonna open up. I'm definitely myself. I'm gonna be transparent, especially about my current grieving process. For many of you don't know, I lost my mother just last month, so we're ready to be real. We're ready to be raw. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it helps somebody, especially learn how to go through this process. So we're looking forward to this tonight.
So for those who don't know, again, this is all their first time. So that's why they acting all brand new. But we have known each other for years. So
it's college.
Terry and I met in the fall of '97.
97.
He had when he had a ponytail. He had a ponytail, and all the girls was like, "Ooh, who's Terry with the ponytail?" and he was taking all the women at Langston.
Oh God!
And then he would start singing. Then he would start singing. I'm like, if this Negro don't start singing, he gonna be a pretty boy and he gonna sing.
Oh my goodness.
So that's how we met, and him and I have been rolling together since fall of '97.
Yes, sir.
Then Kyle, you came in 99? 98?
Fall of 98.
Okay,
Fall of 98.
Yep. And so then Kyle just kind of, yeah. Kyle was the resident Benny Hinn.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
So he comes along. Kyle comes along with his Benny Hinn.
You know, I'm wearing white tonight.
Right, he's on his all white for Benny Hinn still, but he was Kyle walking around Langston's campus, prophesying to people. We like, Kyle, we trying to go to the party. And Kyle was like, no, you can't go to the party because the spirit of the Lord is. I'm going to the party, and I'll meet you in the house. But not Kyle. And then Clay comes along, and so I actually met Clay. I think actually in '97 because I was going to his church, this little country church in Seward, Oklahoma, and there was this kid who because he was in high school then, who would get up there and sing. And I was like, where did all this come from? There's no way in the world that this kid is in high school singing like that. And that was Clay. Then he comes to Langston in '99. And yeah, and so that's how long so that's how long we've known each other, to give everybody context. So when Terry's mom passed, who is like my second mother, this started a conversation between us that, was difficult and honestly put me in a space I've never been. Both of my parents are still here. I don't know anything about this. Even as a pastor, it's one thing to walk alongside somebody that you don't know, but when it's your best friend, when it's your brother, when it's completely different. And so, so we're gonna talk about it. So again, put your comments in as we talk, your questions, put them in there. We'll talk through them. Put your feedback, because some of you who are watching have gone through loss and grieving, and have some of these questions that we're gonna talk through. So add them, please, because we need them. And even though all of us love Jesus, there might be a moment tonight where you might question that. This is
just going to have a real deal.
This is how we talk. Okay, so this is how we talk. So we're gonna get into some real conversation. So let's start. Terry gave us a couple of questions, so we'll start there. Y'all good with that?
That works for me.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question that you sent us was, hold on, where it is. All right. First question you sent us, and I ain't gonna talk about your little handwriting. Very simple question. You said, now what? What do I do now? What is my first step? Give me a little something to know where that question goes, and how should we, and then we'll jump into responding.
Yeah, it's definitely because a lot of people care. A lot of people love you, and they want to make sure that you're okay. The hardest thing is coming from a place where there's so many recommendations on what you need to do. There is the one that you need to keep living on for the lost. Well, I'll just speak on behalf of how it was. You need to live on because your mother would want you to live on, or you need to move on. You need to, rely on Jesus as your help, and he's your faith, and he's going to be your strength. And, do what you think that she would want you to do, and it's all of these recommendations, but no one is dealing with the pain of the now, and the grief of what I feel now is not telling me to move on. It's telling me I'm in something right now that I feel like I have to deal with, not look over, not try to jump over that hurdle, not try to jump into something too quick. And it's not dealing with the now. So my first step is what I really wanted to know. How do I really need, do I need to deal with this pain right now before I jump into other things?
So so have you, is this the question you still have, or have you dealt with it already, or?
Well, I actually feel like it answered itself, because I have to deal with that pain, because there is no longer a going back to a normal. And a lot of people say that too. Let's just get back to the normal, back to normalcy. But it will never be normal again. I mean, this is going to be a new normal, just like everyone was saying about the coronavirus. This is going to be a new normal for everybody. So dealing with the pain and dealing with the grief is pretty much has been my first step. But the hardest part is learning how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get caught up in trying to get back into a pattern. And if you get back into that pattern, you subconsciously pass the pain or try to dilute it with working, with, occupying your mind with stuff. So, yeah, my first step comes in dealing with the pain, dealing with the new normal, and actually grieving.
Okay. Clay, you got something? Because I was going to ask a follow-up question to that. Clay, you said something. Can you hear us, Clay? Because I think you froze.
Yes, I would say that is. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
Go ahead. What are you about to say?
Go ahead.
Yes. Go ahead. Talk, boy, with your mushroom head. Sorry, y'all. This probably sorry.
Lord, I thank you.
The process.
Did anybody hear what he just said?
I did not make out a word he said.
All I heard was process. Clay, log out and log back in.
Okay.
While he's doing that, Terry, you said you was talking about how you feel. How does it, if you had to describe as a man, how you feel, what does it feel like?
The moment I start thinking about her, I want to break down.
There you go, Jay Wings.
I can't, because, going from talking to mom every day, at least 2 times a day sometimes, and we always checking on one another, and that to instantly stop. The moment I start thinking about her, I can break down.
Yeah.
And it's almost an indescribable pain, because, the love that I have for a cousin or an auntie, it's not the same that you have for mom. So it is, to put it into words is a little bit harder than I can articulate, but it definitely, once I start thinking about her, I can break down.
I mean, which can be expected. I can't imagine being able to, go from speaking with my mom on a daily basis, and then all of a sudden she's not here. On a Christian level, it's not one of those things that we can just bounce back from.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people think by being a believer that, of course, we hear that, if they were a believer, that they're going, they'll spend all eternity with the Lord and all this. But the reality is that we're natural men, and grief is there, the emotion is there. Otherwise, the Lord wouldn't have given us the emotions and placed them inside us.
Yeah.
So, there's no, I guess you want to get past those super religious answers of like, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, and, all that stuff. But the reality of it is it hurts like hell.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
when Mother's Day roll around, it's one of those type things, and you haven't had to deal with that yet with Mother's Day rolling
Right.
around. So, but the reality of it is yeah, it'll definitely hurt, and no one really knows how long that grief process will last for a particular
Right.
person.
Yeah, and Clay, can you hear us now? Okay, guess not. So Clay
We
said
don't
something.
need Clay to get some better equipment.
Clay, we don't need Clay to get the internet. That's the hard internet.
Can y'all hear me?
And quit using his
Yeah,
phone
I
as
can hear
a
you.
hotspot. Quit using his phone as a hotspot.
Right. Well, you
All
said-
right,
you
y'all.
Lord, I thank you.
You said something. You said something. You were saying something when we were talking about this at the hotel. You said, and I think that's what you're trying to elaborate. You said there's no such thing as normal anymore.
Yeah, there's no such thing as normal. Everything changes. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. You good.
Okay.
Mhm.
As you brothers know, I lost my father about 20 years ago. I was about 18, 19 years old. And I was talking to you brothers, and I told you all that I envy Terry. And somebody was like, okay, why is that? I said, because he gets to go through the grieving process. When my father died when I was 18, 19, I never got to grieve. I remember I went right back to work 3 days later. And it was like I just kind of tried to fill myself with other things to kind of cope with the pain. I never dealt with what I was feeling because my father was like Superman to me. So when I lost him, it really crushed me. But I didn't let anybody know. I
Clearly,
didn't uh, I didn't let anybody know what was going on, how I really felt. People reached out to me to try to talk to me, and I didn't know what to say.
yeah,
I didn't know how to describe it.
yeah,
As I told y'all brothers before, I remember that day like it was yesterday. Um, so with the first question, I would say that grieving is the first process. This process that Terry, you've been going through, and all the way up since we've been talking about doing this, it's brought so many things back to my memory. It's opened up so many doors that were never properly closed, that I never got closure, that opened up doors that of questions that needed to be answered, and understanding what was going on. Because when I look at it now, it was like I just see myself as that scared little boy. Yeah, I was in college. I had just joined Gamma Phi Delta the following year, and it just seemed like everything just kind of stopped. It was like I was just numb to a
yeah,
whole lot of things. So I never got the opportunity to really grieve. I consumed myself with work and with trying to do this and trying to take care of mama and trying to take care of all these other things. So it's very important to deal with the pain too, and it takes a while. It's a process. It's a journey that you have to go through,
yeah,
and however long it takes.
yeah. So, Kyle, let me ask you this question because we haven't experienced this yet. Um, but to me, like when we were talking earlier, I thought this reminds me somewhat of the grieving process that you go through after divorce. I wondered, um, was there a period of grief that you faced coming off of that too? That was difficult.
Definitely. And I think that's the misconception that with a lot of people that men, we don't feel pain, or we don't hurt behind things that a normal person in a given situation might hurt behind or feel pain behind. But I would say definitely, yeah. I can't relate to Terry's situation or Clay's situation, but definitely when I went through my separation, yes, there was grief, there was hurt, and then you start looking back and saying, you know, was it something that I did? Was it all me? Could I have did something different?
Yeah.
You know, so the reality of it is that yes, yeah, there was definitely hurt. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of crying.
Yeah.
A lot of that ugly crying. You know.
I asked that question, Kyle, because I wonder, like, I know with divorce, there's some, like you were coming towards, there's some periods of like shame, and then there's also some periods of like there are periods like cyclical things, like you were talking about with Mother's Day. But in marriage, like after divorce, there's some times where, you know, the wrong song can come on. You're like, oh, that was our wedding song. We did, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Terry, are you like, do you experience? Are you in that part yet where, like you said, like everything starts to remind you? And you had put up a post the other day saying something like it was hard to go to church. Is that kind of
amazingly, yes. Everything. I mean, everything that Kyle said is exactly how I felt. Like, should I have prayed more? Should I have believed more? Should I have been there an extra day? Should I have stayed at the hospital an extra hour? You know, and then still just going to church, sitting on the drum set, and I could see where my mother sat, and it just tore me up, man. And it's like, I'm never going to see her there again. I'm never going to see her, you know, shout when we got shouting music going. I'm never going to see her, you know, getting up crying. I'm never going to see her watch me sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, brother.
Because she was my biggest supporter.
Yes, she was.
Next to my wife, you know.
Yeah.
She was always rooting for me, man. So everything reminds me of it. Yeah.
Yep. Clay, talk about that.
Like I've told y'all brothers, it seems like I've cried now more in the last 4 to 5 years, and it seems like I've cried in my entire life. Because now when I'm on the road and I'm driving and I hear a song that my daddy used to sing, or I hear a song that my mother used to sing, I just lose it.
Yeah.
I just lose it. And I literally remember it like it was yesterday. My father died in 2000. My mom died, I believe it was 2015, 2016, something like that. And I always will hear people say, you know, well, time heals all wounds. I just don't believe that. I believe you learn how to manage, how to deal with the pain. I don't necessarily believe that it just leaves.
Yeah.
It becomes a new normal. And the only way that you can really deal with it is to acknowledge it.
Okay.
Say, God, this is how. Was one thing that kind of started the healing process. Is I had to acknowledge how I was feeling, because I did not acknowledge it. I tried to go on like everything was okay. Like I told y'all before, I went right back to work, went right back to school, and I was like, well, now I got to take care of mama. Now I got to do this. Now I got to make sure I'm okay, so they don't have to worry about me.
Yeah. So is that why you was working 3 jobs?
pretty close of it.
Now I feel bad for making fun of you, because we be like Clay, like I gotta go to Brahms, and then I gotta go to school, and then after I feed the bulls,
go to Homeland.
Hey, that brother was trying to keep his mind. That
I
brother's
was
trying to keep his mind occupied.
I was trying to just fill myself with many other stuff because I didn't want to deal with my reality.
Mhm.
Like I said, man, to me, my daddy was Superman. I was so used to him telling me what to do,
Mm.
and I would just be like, Daddy, just tell me what to do, and I'll go do it,
Mhm.
whatever it is. I grew up in a generation in a household that I didn't ask questions. Whatever my mom and daddy said do, I did. I didn't
Mhm.
question why they said it. I didn't ask why or what it meant. I just did it. So I was programmed like that. So,
Mhm.
and it affected me as I got older because I got to the point where, I didn't ask questions or I wasn't inquisitive trying to figure out what was going on. So when
Mhm.
that part of my life left, I was just distraught. I didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
And on the inside, I was crying out, wanting somebody to talk to me and tell me, but I didn't know what to say. I remember my sister she said, Clay, after Daddy died, you just got real quiet. I
Mm.
got quiet because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know
Mm.
what to do. I did
Mhm.
what I thought I was supposed to do to try to carry on and just finish, try to keep doing everything that I thought my daddy wanted me to do.
Mhm.
Wasn't necessarily what I wanted. So I
So we got a
tried to.
question. Terry, we have a question. Mike Albright asked the question. He said, Terry, how is your grieving affecting your family, your friends, and your work?
I honestly can't speak on behalf of everybody else. I know that they are an important part of it because they are loving me in it and loving me through it. And they know that
Mhm.
this is still early, early on grieving.
Mhm.
Um, as far as work is busy. So when I get to work, I stay busy. So my mind stays occupied.
Yeah.
So it is nothing has really, if anything, I can actually feel that my body has suffered uh, because
Mm.
of the hit.
Well, like,
I've been well, like my immune system is much more easily affected by these allergies. Usually, I can take one Zyrtec, and it lasts me a week or two. But I've been having to take breathing treatments and
mm.
have a little puffer and Zyrtec every day.
Mhm.
But I've actually read that that can happen. The stress that we put on ourselves, especially trying, because like Clay was saying, after mom died, I wanted to make sure daddy was good.
Mhm.
And daddy is still here, and my dad has been a huge soldier in this thing because he lost his mother 7 months prior to losing
Mm.
his wife.
Mm. Man.
So yeah, yeah. So that's why I was like, I want to make sure that daddy is taken care of. If I got to be down there every day, if I got to stay down there and all that kind of stuff. But my family has, I'm truly grateful for my family. They have supported me. They've checked up on me. They have loved me. Like I said, they have loved me in this, and they're not trying to pull me out quicker than I need to.
Okay. All right.
which is only natural because stress and worry will deplete your body.
Yeah.
Yep. Most of the time when you're stressed and worried, you don't even have an appetite.
Yep.
Unless it's like
I
you,
haven't.
Bishop.
I'm the exact opposite. Stress makes me eat more.
Ain't nothing wrong with him. What flavor is that bone?
Bishop, we gotta pray that spirit of stress off of you.
Oh,
You
sweet
go to
Jesus.
say, let me get the 15-piece bucket.
Loose me.
And let him go.
Let me go.
Oh man.
Not shy. Let me go.
oh man.
Look. So Terry, you asked a very good question. you asked, what do you do with your faith? And I'm gonna ask the question how you asked it when we talked versus how you put it on the paper. The question you asked when we talked is, how do I stay faithful to my faith that I feel like failed me? First of all, let me say theologically that blew me away for a good week, and y'all know that doesn't happen very often. But for a good week, I wrestled with that question. So you asked the question, how do I stay faithful to a faith that I believe failed me? You said, because I prayed, I fasted, I believed, we had other people believing and praying, and still she's gone. How do I stay faithful to it? I was like, whoo, talk about that. And then Kyle, Clay, y'all jump in there. I got to go wash my hands. So, but I can hear y'all, so keep going.
Well, I mean, you put it perfectly. This whole time, one thing I can say, how it started to hurt me is because I promised my mother. I looked her in her eyes, and I said that, you know, this qualifies you for a miracle, because and I kept using myself, because a lot of people don't know that I was diagnosed with leukemia when I was 3 years old. And the doctor said I wouldn't live to see a teenager. I wouldn't live to see 13. So that was a miracle in and of itself. And I said, I told her, I believe that I am here to tell you that the same miracle that happened to me is qualified for you. So me and Mom we do Bible studies together in the hospital, at home. I mean, we would have some awesome prayer sessions to where, you know, the Holy Ghost really came in and started moving us, you know, and that's why we just kept speaking everything positive. We kept speaking her healing. We kept speaking her deliverance, you know, and it seemed like we would probably have one small good and then about 7 huge bads. And she kept asking me, and I hated that I didn't really have the answer. The truth is, I really did not have the answer for her.
Yeah.
But once it happened, she would say, you know, Terry, tell me this is not the way I'm going to go. I thought I lived right. I thought that I was given the way I'm supposed to give as a tither. I thought I've done people right, because literally before she got in that hospital bed, what got her in the hospital bed with all of those surgeries was she was going to check on a patient.
On the patient, yep.
And this was the same patient that she has Bible studies with and all this stuff. So even I was saying, you know, Lord, how in the world could somebody so faithful to you, and then combined with my faith that I have in you just off of my miracle, you know, I believe that us too, you know, I'm a Bible reader too, where 2 or 3 are gathered, you know, and I believed and I promised her that she was going to get her miracle and her healing. So that's when, after this actually became a reality, that's when the question came, because I didn't feel like praying no more.
Yeah.
I felt like my prayers hit the ceiling. I didn't, you know, and I got all of this word in me, no doubt. I got all of this word in me, but it feels like it did not come to my reality. So that's when the question became.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we're answering this, y'all, those in the comments, as I'm seeing some people in the comments, I'm actually, because I know a lot of you, I know that you all have experienced loss too. So please, as we're answering these questions and talking through them, put your thoughts in comments as well, because like I said, I don't know. I don't know the answer to some of these. So, yeah. Kyle, how do you respond to that?
You know, I'm reminded of Paul when he sought the Lord 3 times regarding that thorn in his side. You know, the Bible never really does say exactly what that thorn was. But I do know that it was something that was bothering Paul in order for him to ask the Lord 3 times to remove it, you know. And then he got to a point to where he said, you know what, Lord, your grace is sufficient for me. You know, a lot of times I don't think we understand, and we definitely, and that's the big thing, you know, with our faith and what we believe is that because, you know, we talk about this Jesus who performed these miracles and performed healings, and he said, you know, if you just believe, you know. We talk about the Jesus that told the little girl to take up her bed and walk. But the reality of it is that, you know, the disciples asked Christ, he said, Lord, teach us how to pray. Teach us what to pray, you know? And a lot of times we don't realize that in a time of suffering is when we are closer to the Lord. And when Terry asked me that and we were in a hotel, you know, I told him, I said, I can almost guarantee you that during that time, your mother was closer in her relationship, in her walk with God, in that suffering, you know, and that's where our faith grows. You know, I wish I had the answer as to why the Lord heals some but doesn't heal others. I really don't know. I really don't know, and that's where our faith comes in. You know. And a lot of times it is shattering. It will shatter your faith to know that you've been praying and believing, you know, and a lot of times I see the messages of, you know, pray for this person and pray for that person. And, you know, the only thing that I pray and that I know will be answered without a shadow of a doubt is, Father, your will be done.
Yeah.
Because God will never do anything outside of his will. Now, he may prolong some things in order for us to understand and see the picture and to see what he sees, but he will never outdo or do anything that's outside of his will. And so that's what I pray. When people say, you know, pray for me for this sickness and for this ailment, my prayer is that, you know what, Lord, your will be done on earth as you've already predestined in heaven, as you've ordained it in heaven. I don't know why. You know, it hurts because you want to see. I remember when me and Rasheen, we went and prayed for this one sister in a hospital in Oklahoma City years ago, and she was on a ventilator. And my aunt called Rasheen and myself up, and we laid hands on this lady, and they had only given her like maybe 6 or 7 more days to live. We went up there and prayed for her, and let me tell you, that had nothing to do with us. It was just simply we were believing God to raise the lady. We left that place. I got a call maybe 2 or 3 days later. That lady was taken off the ventilator, okay? And to my knowledge today, that woman is still alive. And this was easily maybe 15 years ago. I don't know why the Lord healed her and don't heal others. I simply don't know. But I do know, like Paul said, he says, my strength is made perfect in weakness.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
And that's what we have to be comforted in, is that his strength is made perfect in our weakness. We may never understand why, you know, I have high blood pressure. You know, I don't know if it's unto death. I really don't. I've asked the Lord to heal me. What I do is I do what I have to do, and he will do what I can't do. So the doctor says take certain pills 2 times a day. I'll do that. But there's days that I do forget it, and I'm not, and if I don't take it, I'm not like, oh my God, you know, I'm gonna fall over with a stroke or something. I don't fear of that. But the reality of it is that I do what I can do, and then allow him to do what I can't do. And that's with everything. You know, I wish that you know that Terry's mom could have taken up her bed and came out and that been a testimony. Yeah. But it was in God's greater will for her to, you know, to go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's so hard to accept.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's seriously, and you know, and I'm not saying nothing against what you said, Kyle, but
right.
Church folks got to be careful how churchy they can be to somebody that's grieving.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you know, I know you have the best intentions in your heart, but when you come to me and say it's in God's plan, that's that's like cutting me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and or coming to say not now she's never going to suffer anymore. I understand that. You know, my mind is saying if I've been healed, how come it
hmm
couldn't have been for her?
Right.
Right.
You know, or
Right.
and I'm just saying that I know it's a whole lot of whys, and it's cool that not everybody has the answers, but churchy people need to be understanding that people are in pain, people are grieving,
Yep.
and I know it's the best of intent, but some of these things can be cutting to somebody that's in the middle of it, especially early in the middle
Yeah.
of it, you know, and
Yeah.
that's you know nothing against nobody at all. You know, I don't want anybody taking this personal, but we are being real. So
Right.
some of these things can cut, but if you're a churchy person, you should know that you should pray before you say anything anyway.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I think you're absolutely correct. So when we had the conversation, I thought so I think the answer, or if there is an answer, is really not as important as your presence, because like the presence of support,
Right.
there is really no, with the exception of laying hands on them and tell them to rise up. There's really nothing else in that moment that's going
Right.
to satisfy a satisfactory response. So
Right.
I agree that we have to be careful. I think I agree with Kyle that like we really don't know. Like I think it's a very complex situation, because we're kind of stuck in two places. Like, yeah, we're happy. Yeah, you're happy that she's not having to go through the things that she was having to go through, but you're also pissed because, like you said, you can't call her no more. And so now, how do I manage and sit in the middle of these two realities, that I miss her, but I know where she at, and that's great. But I want her here with me. You know, I know that this is what, but her grandkids need. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and I don't know in that moment, especially early on, if the real solution is to give an answer, or if it's just really just to be present for the person
Right.
as they process whatever they process.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jacoby says faith is designed for us to trust God no matter the circumstance. Like the Hebrew boy said, even if he doesn't deliver us, we will yet serve him. Faith and prayer is not about getting God to perform our will, but to align us to his will. Yeah.
Well,
Any
I'll
thoughts about that?
say to that, huh?
And I agree, and I understand
Go
that.
ahead,
But
Cliff.
no, I'm just saying I agree and I understand that. And Terry, I know how you were feeling, because with my mother, I prayed and I asked God not to take my mother. With my father, it was different, because I had a feeling like this was going to be his last time. My father died in my arms, and when he fell out on me, I knew that he wasn't going to
Wow.
come back. I didn't want to believe that. I didn't want to believe that this was the last time that I was going to see my daddy. I'm sitting here saying, "Daddy, open your eyes. Let me see. Let me see you. Talk to me." But in my heart, I knew that it was it, and I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
When I went to visit my mother, I didn't want to believe. I was in denial. God, this cannot be. I just prayed. I just asked you that um that she be healed. I believe that. I was listening to Rick Warren, and he said faith. He said faith is facing the facts without being discouraged by them. Facing the facts without being discouraged by them. So I'm like, okay, God, believing everything that Kyle said, and knowing, God, that you have the last say so, and your will be done, and like the Hebrew boys, like Jacoby has said, it's like, Lord, I know I got to get there, but I'm not there yet. So it's almost like the scripture says, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief.
Right.
So I'm in this situation right now, God. I know where I have to get to. I know I got to get to the point where I say, Lord, let your will be done. Let it be well with me, whatever you decide to do. But Lord, while I'm in this place right now, while I'm feeling what I'm feeling, God, you're going to help me. And that's what I had to do with a lot of things, with those situations in my life. Lord, I don't understand why, but God, help me just to believe your word. Help me just to believe your purpose. And that's a hard thing to do. That's a hard place to be. And as Winfred said, sometimes the biggest help that you can do is just sit there and just listen. Sometimes you don't have the words to say.
Yeah.
And I know how much Terry prayed. I know the relationship that he had with his mother, the belief. And I'm like, God, I don't know. I'm looking for the words to give to my brother, to give him peace, to give him that joy, and to hear him cry. And I'm like, God, Lord, give me the words to say to take his tears away. But I didn't have it. So I mean, those are some real issues, some real feelings that you deal with. Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't have the words, and that's one of those things that, like, it may come down to Terry doing like I do. My relationship with the Lord is, the same way that I talk to my earthly father is the same way I talk to my heavenly father.
Right.
And there's things that I don't understand that my earthly father does sometimes, and I'll ask him, and he may not even give me the I want. But that's the same way I deal with my heavenly father. I'll ask him the same thing, and maybe he won't give me the response that I'm looking for, and then I may question that. But until you have that peace within yourself, Terry, and that's one of the things that only God is gonna be able to bring. It's not like it's not like me where if I don't get the immediate answer from God, well, I go get me a couple cups of scotch or something, and then I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out later, and then I'll beseech the Lord again.
It's so crazy, Lord, today.
Winfrey got chicken, and you got scotch.
If you don't give me what I'm looking for the first time, I'm like, well, I'll come back, but I'm gonna pour me a couple glasses of scotch right now, and I'll come back to this tomorrow.
You crazy. Oh my gosh.
Jacoby has a comment. He says, to your point, Pop Terry, he said our faith has to be active in advance of the situation. I think the mistake we make as church folk is that we are constantly trying to make God look good in the eyes of folk. But if people want to be mad or upset or disappointed in God, God can handle that. Now I'm gonna tell you something. That last part right there is something that I totally say amen to right there.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I actually think that one of the mistakes we make is trying to pretty it up. I mean, and that's in general. We try to pretty up faith and belief when clearly, if you read the biblical text, you see it's a whole lot of ugly in there.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not explainable. So how do you do that? And be comfortable saying, I don't have an answer. Terry, I don't know. Terry, I don't know when you're going to feel better. I don't know when you're going to. What I do know is God is still God.
Right.
And what that means to you in that moment, only you can respond to. Like, only, because what did you say? You said something to me. You was like, I asked you, when you asked me the question, I said, have you asked God? And you told me, you said, well, no, I don't really want to talk to him right now.
And that's honest.
When you said it, I'm like, thank you for saying that, because you didn't lie and go, oh, I've been in prayer, and you just said how you like. I really ain't got nothing to say to him right now. Like, I don't, I feel like you let me down. I think that is needed. Like, to me, that says relationship. That says we have a relationship that you can tell me I'm pissed off at you right now. And I think to me that is a better sign of where our relationship is than you telling me, oh, I know God is gonna work it out for my good no matter what. No, you pissed. Say I'm pissed at you right now. So So I agree. I'm with Jacoby on that.
Without disrespecting his deity. I mean.
Yeah.
I was going to say like this. It's exactly like the example that Clay gave when he was talking about when Daddy told him what to do. He trusted everything Daddy said because he knew Daddy had him covered. Ultimately,
right.
It was no question. It was
Right.
no question, and I think a lot of what the people are misunderstanding about this pain and this grief and the fact that I'm upset is because everything that I believed, and I'm gonna tell you the truth on this, everything that I even spoke, gave a message about, or preached was an encouragement to the promises that God has. Everything that he has that's good that I've made a list of is the same thing that I was talking about to Mama. Because he healed these people, you can be healed. Because he brought this person out, you can be brought out. Because this person was given sight, you can see again. So I'm using Bible and I'm literally building my faith. So I'm trying to instill in her a promise that it is possible for her.
Yeah.
Because that's where my faith was.
Yeah.
Because it was in building, and the fact that I'm still alive myself, I'm building that faith even more. And I was trying to build it not only for myself, but for Mama too. Because the Bible says it, when Jesus saw their faith, when they let him down into the on his bed down through the roof, when Jesus saw their faith. So I was saying, well, Daddy, I know you're gonna see my faith because you said it, and I trust what you said.
Right.
So I'm
right.
just gonna pass it on. So that's where my faith was. It wasn't that I didn't have none. It wasn't that I was trying to have my will, but
Right.
because I know of everything that God has done,
Right.
I can say the same thing, Mama. Yeah, you're qualified for it. Yeah, the miracle is available to you. Yeah, because it was available to me.
Right.
Terry, all you needed was a organ and a key of B on that part.
Well, now
Yes.
what Clay do? What?
Yeah.
Let's see. So Pretty says it's okay to be in the space where you don't want to be churched. Yes. Jackie says, I believe that God is okay with your honesty. I totally agree with that.
Well, he can see your heart anyway.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
Tasha Featherstone says, indeed, exactly the way I have learned to communicate with God in pure honesty. God, I know this may not be what you have for me at this time, but please cover me because I'm honestly going that way anyway. What happens after is on me, but I had to keep it real. Why twist the truth to the one person that is knowing, all knowing? Yep.
Yeah. That's real.
Melanie asked the question. She says, do you firmly believe that a piece of you leaves your heart once a person transitions into heaven?
A piece of you.
Now,
Interesting question. There's a piece of you. I mean that memory or that
That part, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to say yeah.
Because once that
now,
person leave,
yeah.
that because that
Go ahead.
part can never be filled. You know, we grew up in church and we always say mother this and mother that, but once your mother leaves, you know, nobody can ever really fill those shoes. Now you can acknowledge a person as mother, but nobody else really fulfills those shoes because God gives you one mother. But as far as
Yeah. I
physically,
think
I
the memory is always there.
Right.
You know, because we talk about my grandmother all the time, and then things
that
that she would react to and things that she wouldn't react to, and how no nonsense she was. But you know, and we miss her. We miss her dearly. And she was one. I will say, she was one that we were all standing around, and we just basically, you know, said, you know, Lord, we release her to you, and when we did that, that's when she went. But we definitely didn't want her to go. We knew she was suffering, you know. But the memories are there, you know, and I think the memories will always be there.
Yeah.
But as far as that, yeah, that part is definitely, it definitely goes.
Yeah, it's so much. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
Okay,
Go.
I was just gonna say real quick. It's so much of your heart invested in that love,
Mm-hmm.
and now that place feels like it's missing.
Yeah, I would say
because you're not. the actions and everything that come with it.
Right,
Go ahead.
right.
I would say I don't know if if a piece of your heart leaves. For me, I feel like great loss has made pieces of my heart die. And so maybe die, like I felt like I haven't gone through this, but I feel like a part of my heart died after divorce. And I don't know. And when I say death, I mean like in terms of like it was a space where not so much that I knew it was there, but it was a space that nobody else had access to. So maybe that's the same kind of a feeling. But it was like now, I don't want to let nobody there no more. Y'all can, So yeah, that would be my response. I don't know about you.
And then it's different for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
Yeah. Let's see. God is definitely big enough to handle all sides of us. Fact. Yep. I didn't talk to God for a while. I was mad as hell. I know that's right.
Who said that?
Michelle Embry. Sheffer says, when going through
That's
the
good.
process, there is no wrong emotion. You feel what you feel. I agree.
Yeah.
About the last question, she says, yes, because you will never be the same without that person. So, yeah. Yeah.
And I was going to say this real quick. I think it's real important. I don't think that society has allowed a culture for grief and for pain, especially in loss, because we're so quick to get back to normal. We're
Especially
so
when it comes to
quick to
Christianity.
Yeah.
exactly. Because a majority of funerals that I've ever been to has always been, this is Brown time. This is a celebrate. We gotta shout and
Right.
have a good time because they have gone on high and you ain't did nothing for Diddy. You know what I'm saying? It's just like get back into a flow to where it's almost like you're saying, forget about that person and move on with your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we haven't really created a space for pain and for grieving.
Yeah.
I mean, the most we have done is just say, grieve in your own time, and you probably just will grieve for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody is really, creating that open space to say, okay, you can have pain. Yes, you can feel bad. Yes, you can feel grief. It's okay. You don't have to jump back into the loop of things so quick.
Yeah.
So I think that's real important to at least have it allowed to people that are truly lost somebody that has been that near and dear to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If y'all around for my funeral, I want y'all to play every sad song y'all can think about.
We're gonna too busy listening. We're gonna be too busy telling stories about what your fools tell.
Yeah.
like remember y'all remember when Kyle told us that God told him he was gonna heal his eyes.
And did you break your glasses, Kyle?
He said God was gonna heal his eyes.
And I tore my, you told me when I tore my contact lenses?
He in the computer lab like this.
Y'all waving at me across the college yard. Look, I'm like, hey, y'all other direction.
Oh Lord, today.
But, and I said, well, why didn't God ever heal my eyes? My eyes have gotten worse since college. No, really.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I've sought the Lord on it several times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guarantee if I go out there and drive without my glasses or my contacts, I'm getting pulled over.
Right.
That's true. Rob says, you're right. You're right, Terry. The church tells us not to cry, and others tell you to get back to normal. Grief is a process and a journey towards a new normal. here is my okay. So Terry, I got a question, and Clay, you could jump in this.
Look what Rob said.
You gonna do the Earl Flynn?
He said I was touching the computer with my eyelids.
You were. You were. Kyle was like this.
Woo.
And then look, and then that's when you had the little mouth. He was like this with the mouth.
Boy, the devil know he was busy back then, boy.
Oh, what are you doing? So yeah, so we got a lot of stories like that to tell at just now. But Terry and Clay, so what would you have liked? How would it have looked to give you a space to cry and to grieve? Like instead of saying move on, like what would have been a good process for you that you would have still felt like I'm still honoring and grieving, you know, they're giving me this space, especially as a man, because for men, again, both of you did exactly what we all do typically, is that's go back to work, try to, you know, cover it with cover the pain with work and staying busy. So what would it have looked like for the church to say, we know you're in pain, let's sit here in this pain with you, and yeah, or what would you have liked to have seen happen?
Looking back on that, man, I think I should have probably
Go
went
ahead,
through.
Clay.
Yeah, looking back on that, I think I should have went through some counseling. I really, and I can say that now, looking back and looking, you know, as a young man back then, I probably should have went through some counseling for somebody just to really sit down and give me that open door and say, Clay, it's okay. It's okay that you feel the way you feel. It's okay that you're in these feelings. Now, what do you want to do?
Mhm.
How are you going to deal with this? Let's walk through this step by step. I believe if I would have had maybe some counseling, it would have kept me from a lot of decisions I made in the future, trying to fill the void of a lot of things and picking the wrong things to fill the void. So for me, if I would have got some help, if I would have been more vocal, because I kind of closed up and I didn't talk to anybody, and I just reverted back. I went into survival mode.
Yeah.
Like most men do.
Survival mode for me. Well, let me just get back to work and everything will just get back to normal.
Yeah.
I thought things would just eventually work its way out, and that is so wrong. And a lot of men, we have that feeling. Oh, it'll roll over. Everything will just work itself out.
Yeah.
No, I don't always do that.
So you would have wanted somebody to take you to counseling.
Yeah, I just get some help. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because I was so young. I was 18, 19 years old, and just because I didn't realize how much I depended on my dad, on my father, on my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terry.
One of the biggest things that I've noticed is that it's still not considered a safe place for men to be hurt or be in pain.
Yeah.
Because it's so much of an expectation for us to just, you know, if you're in pain, recover, you know, suck it up, keep going. Being vocal about it, even it proves a certain vulnerability, but at the same time, we're almost scared to do it because it makes us look weak. And sometimes I don't feel like I'm allowed to look like that I can't be the face of weakness.
Yep.
And I think the church could be a huge instrument in this. But you really don't get, how can I put it? You really don't get lessons on, I mean, you hear about that great day, you know, the whole eschatological preaching. You hear about those things, but you don't want to deal with death. And but how I would answer that is loving me in and through the pain, even if it's not having the answer, even if it's not saying anything, just saying I love you. Honestly, for me personally, when people say I love you, I can feel that. And if you're loving me in and through this, it does more than you giving me 14 scriptures to read. It does
Right.
more than you saying you'll be all right. Just to answer that, I would say loving me in and through it, it does a lot.
Do you feel loved when I call you Titty Man?
Intensive care.
Yes. Shut up. Yes.
Love when I call you Teddy. Do you feel
Oh my
love
God.
call you Fat Boy? Because I know you know that I love you, but I just wonder.
Oh
Like,
my God.
it's a funny question, but it's legit because like I do wonder. Like sometimes, like our way of talking is to we laugh and joke, and I say sometimes like I wonder if I shouldn't have said that one time. I should have probably said that to him at that moment. He probably didn't need to hear me talk about him, but
Well, see, I didn't know.
you came back and talked about my no neck. So I was like, okay, right.
Well, one thing I knew about Terry's mama is I knew she can cook, because it ain't no way that brother the size he is.
Hey, Winfred, let me just hear you say, I'm tired. I'm tired, Winfred. I'm tired. Oh my Lord.
Wait, hold on. Winfred, do this. Winfred, do this real quick.
Like somebody said karate chop.
Oh, I can't stand y'all.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. That's love right there. That's love. That's love. Clay ain't got no neck either, so that's love.
Hey, you're right. I got no neck. Kyle, you got all the neck for all of us.
But he got the chins too, so we ain't got
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't even
Kyle's
have
hairline look like he done backslid.
Oh Lord, today. Oh Jesus. Oh sweet Jesus.
So we told y'all this is what we do. The only part was funny. The only part of our who don't know, the only part of our normal interaction that y'all have not seen is usually somewhere in here. Clay will bust out a song, and then we'll go into singing and harmonizing, and then we all crying,
and then we laughing, and then we crying.
Like how we get to worshiping, but so we talking about each other again. This is actually normal for us. So, I think that in all seriousness, I think that what you all were saying was dope because there is no, my thinking is usually as a pastor, I am trained to sit with families, to walk them through the grieving process up until the service. And then at the service, I'm trained that my job is to encourage you and encourage the family to not to move on, but to respect and honor the person who is gone, but at the same time be encouraged through their life, through the witness of their life. And so I never really looked at it as saying, in essence, move on with your life, but almost to say at some point you do, you should understand that this person will want you to move on. So I appreciate both of your answers. That's deep. That's deep. Rob says, I feel both of your hearts, Clay and Terry. I really hear both of you saying that we need to give the Tin Man the opportunity to have a heart. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Alyssa says, y'all bringing light to these emotions and issues is heartening. Thank you for being so open, and it's really amazing. No problem. Yeah, this is normal for us. Yeah, this is normal. All right, next question. Unless either one of you has something to add.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Terry, you asked another question you asked was, Um, oh Jesus! I don't feel like doing anything. How do I recover?
Don't feel like doing.
Well, because again, you want to get back into some type of format.
Right.
So I mean, it's like my mind, and I think it's just unfortunate for everybody. Is your mind is saying, "What's the first thing you need to do?" So I was trying to do things, but I didn't feel like it. I was trying to read my Bible, tried to read my books, trying to pray, trying to, get everything back in, and it just did not feel good. And I didn't want to do it straight up. I just didn't want to do it. So, I mean, I kind of think that we somewhat touched on the answers to this because, the first question was, where do we go from now? Where do I go? Where do I start? But in all honesty, I just didn't feel like doing nothing, man.
Right.
It was just that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's okay that you
Wait, I
feel
got
like that. It's okay. Huh?
It is. It is. I was gonna say I have a question. I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
When your father passed, you were around us. Today, I think we all can today was the first time we heard what happened with your father. Why have you never talked about this before? Was there a reason? Was there a reason that this is the first time we talked about this?
I guess it really hurt. I didn't know if to really express it. Honestly, I thought I told y'all maybe years before. Um, but I don't know. I just not really knowing how some would take it, or not knowing how to really express it. Not maybe, like I said, this whole process has just opened doors for me and took my mind back to years and years of things that I never dealt with. So it just it kind of just opened the door and made it comfortable just to want to talk and express. Because, like I've said, I've been holding stuff in for 2-3 weeks of questions and things I wanted to just tell that I never told. Even some of my own sisters and brothers didn't know what had happened. But like I say, I remember that day like it was yesterday, and what the sun was. I mean, how it felt outside, and what he had on. I mean, it's crazy, man. I remember that.
Yeah. Do you feel like you didn't have the space to talk about it, or was it just like?
Maybe not the space. Maybe not knowing how.
Okay.
Because it was like, after that happened, there was a longing in me. That's why I was like, man, I got to get around some brothers. I got to get around some encouragement. So that's why, I pressed to try to become part of Gamma Phi Delta. Y'all helped me through the process because I was still working and getting off of work and coming to the process and all night with that, and then trying to go to school. And I mean, it was rough, but it was like I felt like I needed to be a part. I was looking for some type of healing, because there was a part of me, even though I loved my daddy and wanted to be like him, I always felt like I couldn't measure up. A part of me always felt like I wasn't good enough. Like I've told y'all before, daddy was about 6'2", 260 pounds. Man could fix anything. I always wanted to look like daddy. Daddy was light skinned with green eyes. I always envied everything that he did. We didn't have a whole lot of conversations, but I just wanted to be in the same room that he was in. So, I always, and then when he left, I felt like I didn't measure up. I felt like I didn't fit in. A part of me was just gone because I didn't have anybody to tell me what to do. And then I was feeling ashamed that
Really?
that I couldn't really think for myself. I would look at you guys, and it seemed like you guys had plans of what did you want to do, and y'all were so intellectual and speaking. I mean, this is just me on the outside looking in
Yeah,
and wanting to be a part. And here I am, this old country boy from Seward, and
That's the first thing I thought.
and and I'm trying to be this person, but I'm like, God, I don't know if they really accept me for who I am when they find out who I am. So just feeling with uh the misconception of myself and just dealing with my own insecurities
yeah.
of who I was, so
Clay, Alfred asked, would you have accepted if they told you to go to sent you to counseling? Would you have accepted the help?
I think I probably would have been hesitant at first. I think eventually I really would have. If somebody really probably would have showed me their heart or just really wanted to was concerned about me, I think I probably eventually would have went. Yeah.
And I still think that's a lot of again what we are what we know as the expectation of men, because at some point, I've felt exactly what you said, Clay. I've felt the shame. I felt the insecurity. I felt the need to be pulling for something else to try and fill that void. And then even now, if counseling was offered, my subconscious mind jumps to immediately saying, I'm strong enough. I got this. And literally the expectation of who I am is almost like what I'm trying to live up to. But ultimately, I started questioning myself. And do I really know who I am? I mean, and then that jumps into my faith next, right after that. Do I really know where my faith is? Because of all of this, it's really making me ask more questions that I can't even ask y'all, because I'm asking myself.
Yeah.
Am I really, as faithful as I say I am, as faithful as I portray myself to everybody else? But I'm weak, man. This brought the weakest me out that has ever been. And it again, it jumps right back into an expectation thing. And I'm like, God, dog, I ain't being real to myself.
Yeah, I left my home church because a part of me felt like I couldn't measure up. My father, my grandparents, uncles, great uncles helped build the church in Seward. If you go out there, you'll see the names. I'm related to all them people that helped brought their church together. And in my own mind, I felt like they wanted me to continue on what my daddy had, what my daddy did there. And a part of me felt like I couldn't do it. I felt so small. I felt nothing in me. Small, like, God, how in the world? So I put this on the inside. I was dying.
Wow.
Because I was still telling me what to do.
I'm not gonna lie, I only heard
because
about
I'm like, God, where's my own?
of what he said.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you didn't hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
He break it up more than a little bit.
A little bit.
It's that our more internet again.
Hold on a minute.
I couldn't make out a damn thing he said.
I don't know.
And you was feeling that thing too, man. I know you was
man.
Yeah.
He said he left Seward because he didn't feel like he could live up to what his dad.
Okay.
Let me see, Kyle, if he was in the spirit instead of in the Scotch, you would have been able to interpret them tongues that he was speaking.
Maybe I should have been drinking the Scotch and it would have combined it all together for me.
Okay. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
No, what I was saying was that in Seward, it's like I felt like I had to carry on what my dad created, or what the legacy that he had. And it's like I felt like I couldn't even do that. I felt like I was so minute that I couldn't have the mindset to continue on. So a part of me just left.
Hmm.
Before I physically left, I mentally left the church.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Yeah.
Lord, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm not as strong as what everybody else think I am. It's like, Lord,
Mhm.
if there's any good in me, it only comes from you. Like literally, when I read that scripture, like that's me. It's like I feel like Clay Dewberry just don't have the knowledge to really do anything. I'm like, God, if there's any good thing that comes out of me, it's all from you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I mean, it was a crazy time, you know. And like I could say, man, it's only by the grace of God that I was able to make it through. When I look back at all of that.
I'm trying to see how I want to ask this question. So I think one of the things that I'm concerned. Well, let me do this. So Will James says that's real. We have to stop being too strong for help. That is definitely true. We do, and I think as responded to Terry's point earlier, I don't think that I get exactly what you meant. Because I doggone near had to be dead before I went to counseling, so I understood that. But I wonder now, looking back, if our idea of strong, like what we consider being too strong, is really just us being too weak to admit that we need help. Because like it's really what we're saying is a strength is really a weakness. Like it's a weakness that we won't get help. It's a weakness that we feel like we can't talk to people who we know. So yeah, I think that's like, so how do we adjust that, but still as men, because we do need our ego. How do we adjust the fact that we do need ego, but that at the same time that getting help or asking for help does not mean that we're not strong?
Without being overanalyzed, because sometimes, if someone was to advise me about counseling or refer me to counseling, the first thing that comes to my mind is I don't want somebody to overanalyze. Sometimes I just want them to listen. Let me talk. Let me express what I'm feeling, what's in my heart, without you being over analytical and trying to prescribe or give me some spiritual prescription.
Right.
Because that's what church folk tend to do. They look for that opportunity to give you some type of spiritual prescription to your spiritual ailment.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I just need you to listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if the space is not created, we'll never want to walk in. If you're genuinely inviting, not just by words, but by your empathy, by your caring, by your compassion, if it's ultimately, it's like saying it's okay, and we can get that.
Yeah.
If you say it's okay, and I really feel like it's a safe space. I mean, and much like this has created that space. This has invited me. This has said it's okay for me to feel the way that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you just need to break out and cry, just do it. That's one of the things, even when we were at the hotel, like, if that's what you needed to do, hey, more power to you. Sometimes you just need to be able to cry out and know that it's okay to cry out.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I told you, I was like, listen, y'all better be ready, because if this big dude fall, it's gonna take all I can't squat 500 pounds anymore. So y'all gonna have to help.
Well, all I can say is it was gonna be a big indention in that flow, because I'm not.
I'm sure.
I need my back for rendering due benevolence.
When Clay came out there and was like, He thought he was. He's like, man, Terry broke down on me. I walked back in there. I was like, Jesus, oh, here we go. I got to pick up Clay and Terry. I was ready for you, but at the same time, I was like, again, I wanted you to feel like if you could, if you needed to, you could. And man, your wife was like on it. Man, I walked in there and I was like, man, that's my girl right there. She knew like the right time and the right way and to let you do what you needed to do. And I think that's helpful. And I say that especially if somebody with somebody, a man who's going through it. Like to me, it's very few people who can unlock that emotion like your woman can.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
absolutely.
Was free.
And I gotta say, man, she has been amazing, absolutely amazing. But one important conversation that we had because she felt the weight of this situation, and she immediately felt a responsibility or a heaviness, if you will, to try to be what I have lost. And I'm glad that she told me that. I'm glad that she opened up to me about that because, I felt safe in telling her that you don't have to try and be mom. You just continue to be wife. You continue to be my best friend. You continue to be my lover. What you're doing right now is plenty
Lord,
because
I
she
thank
tells me it's okay. When she tells me it's okay, I feel like it's okay. When she hugs
Right.
my neck, I feel good. I feel safe.
you.
I can let my guard down. So yeah, shout out to my wife, Tanisha, man. She has been beyond amazing throughout this, and she's still sticking right by me.
Yeah, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
We still get cake points.
Yes.
Caking, baby.
Yeah.
Rob says, Kyle, a true therapist will allow you to share and listen. It's not the therapist's job to prescribe an antidote without permission. Michelle says, it's not weak to live. It's not weak to live so much that there is indescribably pain when there is loss. Loss is a part of the cycle of life, but we still have to treat it as such. I agree. Sheffer says she want to tell people stop throwing Jesus at me. I already know him. Goodness.
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
She's like somebody like when people are talking to her, she want to tell them stop throwing Jesus at me. I already know him.
Come on. Come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? We got any other questions on here? Because a lot of these questions, we answered most of them. Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You said, I know the Bible says that we will go through trials and tribulations and endure certain things, but how do you confront this different kind of brokenness? Do we answer
that?
Not totally.
Not totally. We answered it.
Let's go. I'll read it again. I know the Bible says that we would go through trials and tribulations and endure certain things, but how do you confront this different kind of brokenness? I'm gonna say you to explain. No, I think I do. No, my answer. Are y'all ready to respond to this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say what Rob said earlier, and it's just being able to recover, just allowing yourself time to recover. I don't think there's a certain protocol or a certain formula to being able to confront it, Again, there's a spiritual way of looking at things, and then there's the actual physical way of looking at things and trying to deal with it and cope with it, So basically, like what Rob was saying is, just allowing yourself time to recover.
Clay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Every pain is different. Time and just going through the process and not being afraid to say how you feel and not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I know that's one thing I didn't do. I was afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
I thought it was weak to say that. I feel like it wasn't enough room for me because I was trying to make sure everybody else was okay. I was trying to make sure Mama was okay. Mama had issues and Mama had things that she was dealing with, and then y'all know what I was doing. I was trying to feed all them animals, and I was trying to work, and I had 8 o'clock class going to school. I'm sitting in class and not really knowing what's going on, but hey, I'm still trying to go, still trying to do this. I remember I had a wreck coming from Langston, going to Guthrie, because I was going home to feed some animals. I fell asleep on that road, and I hit a car, and it was kind of like a pileup. And I just remember getting out that car, sitting on this curve, and I was like, God, I can't do this. It's like I literally felt my body shutting down. Like, God, if you don't do something, I'm going to lose it. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. And I remember that's one time I really cried out. It's like, God, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm sitting here trying to go to school. I got to go to work, but then I got to go home and make sure, trying to feed these animals and doing all this stuff. Lord,
Wow.
I need some help.
Yeah.
So being able to talk, being able to communicate, being able just to talk to somebody. I can't express to y'all how much this process is healing me. And like I said, it's been 20 years, man.
Wow.
And I feel like it was yesterday. This whole process, man, I feel like it's healing.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
thank y'all, man. And more than what y'all ever know, man. So
Wow.
I'm grateful.
Wow.
Clay, if he wouldn't have saved you from that accident, we wouldn't be looking at your muscly head now.
You are you are absolutely right.
Okay, what's your thoughts on that?
What were you gonna say, Winfred? No, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say that you recover. What I was gonna add to that is you recover by sitting in it and not allowing the brokenness to to go away or push. You don't push it away. You don't sweep it under the rug. You just sit in it and let whatever the process let the process be the process. So I remember, I'm gonna tell you this story. So I remember one day, I was sitting at work, and like a sense of grief and like something that happened, like when I was going through divorce, and I can't remember what was happening that day, but I think I went to court and it didn't go well or something, and I was sitting there and at work, I'm a business banker, talk on the phone talking to customers, and just tears just start rolling. And the guy who's sitting next to me was just looking, and I didn't even know what was going on, but I just could not stop crying. And I cried, and I probably cried for 40 minutes sitting at that desk. And nobody bothered me, and nobody talked to me, and nobody said anything to me. And when I got done, I was like, God, I don't know what's going on, but it felt like some of what I was like in that moment, I got out the part I was supposed to get out. And at the end of that, the guy who's sitting across me walked over to me, handed me a piece of tissue, and said, Mr. Burns, it's going to be okay. And that's all I needed. And so I think you sit
Yeah.
in it and you let those waves come, and you let the frustration come, and you let the questions come, and all the stuff that's come. And the second thing I would say is what you do is you don't allow other people's brokenness to become your brokenness. And so what I mean by that is you don't allow the ignorant stuff and the stupid stuff that people say to you to sit on you, and you take that on. You realize that people are broken, and people are are doing the best that they can in most instances, but that ain't my problem. Right now, all I can worry about is me.
Right.
And let that be what you worry about. So their problems, other people issues, today they got to deal with them. I got to deal with the fact that I'm upset because I'm hurt because I miss my mama. Or in my case, it was I'm disappointed, I'm hurt because I miss my son. And I don't, and or I feel shame because because I'm going through divorce. So I think those are the two things for me that helped me recover was don't let other people's brokenness become yours. And you just got to sit in it, man. You got to sit in it until you're able to so you allow life to start coming back together. You don't make it, but it'll come back together on its own. Like you'll know, okay, now I've got to start doing this.
Right.
I start doing that.
Well, that just helped me. Not letting other people's brokenness become mine.
Yeah, it's not yours.
And that's real.
It's not
That's
yours.
real.
It's not
Because I know I got big shoulders and sometimes I'll accept it, even though I don't need to. But now, thank you. Seriously. Yeah. Thank you. That has relieved some of the stuff off of my shoulders for real.
Yeah.
And every now and then, Terry, don't be afraid to throw a Heineken back or so,
Terry don't drink. What you talking about?
You are crazy.
Look, to get Terry to walk past the Mike's Hard Lemonade is
oh, sweet Jesus!
One day I'm gonna take him to Walmart and get him a Boone's Farm just to start him off.
Listen, he's not gonna. He's gonna just start speaking in tongues. Terry ain't even.
Oh Lord, today, sweet Jesus!
Yeah. I'm gonna get him that. I'm gonna get him that Wild Berry Boone's Farm.
You is crazy. Oh Lord, today.
Did anybody have something to add to that question?
No, that was good points, man. Winfred, I believe that was really, really strong, really good information you gave about not accepting on everybody else's feelings. Because that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. And I could not deal with my own self. Even when my mother passed away and my sister asked me, one of the hardest things I ever had to do is I had to preach my mother's funeral.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Lord, I don't know what to do. And it wasn't nothing but Christ that brought me through that. But I was trying to.
You had the strength of Ezekiel to do that.
Man, there wasn't nothing but Jesus, bro. It wasn't nothing but Jesus. But even in that, bro, that's why I think that I'm dealing with it now, because I never dealt with it back then. I never.
Right.
And I'm telling you, the hurt and the pain and the tears that I've cried just driving down the road. I'm like, God, you would think that it just happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, Clay, why are you crying? Why are you hurting like this? What's going on? And I'm trying to sing my way through. I'm trying to, press my way through. But they just keep coming. And I'm talking about it'll be just any song. Just some old church songs, them good old hymns I done heard time and time again. And I'm telling you, pass me not, oh gentle Savior, Jesus, keep me to the cross. Bro, I'll just start to bawl. I'm like,
what about Boys to Me and End of the Road?
I'm feeling it.
But I'm telling you, I'm like, Jesus, you know what I'm saying?
Kyle, you a fool.
Kyle is a fool. Kyle, you are a fool. But I'm like,
it goes back to, because like you said, because you didn't deal with it then, I think the thing that we got to realize, especially as men, is we got to realize, and I envy now women who have the space to be emotional and cry and all that stuff. I envy them in this area, especially that if we don't deal with it, it doesn't go away. At some point and in some way, it's going to come up.
Right.
Even if it is 20 years later. Now imagine the destructive way, not imagine, but think about over the last 20 years, and please don't name these things, the destructive ways that this has probably played out in your life. Had you have cried 20 years ago and maybe gone through 3-4 year period, 20 years ago, some of the things that you might have been able to not done.
So true, man. That's
And so
real.
I think as men, we gotta say, look, this is painful and this hurts, and it's gonna hurt, and it's gonna hurt for a while. But I gotta feel this. I gotta let myself give myself the space to be not okay. I gotta, I have to be able to ask myself to be man enough to say, today I'm not good.
Because I'm telling you, man,
Right.
it's like I'm just getting to the point where I can deal with the Father's Day, or I can deal with the Mother's Day. My father passed away on Thanksgiving. For the longest of time, man, I couldn't stand Thanksgiving, bro. Christmases. It changes. I mean, I was like, God, I can't stand holidays. I remember Father's Day, I would go to church and I'd just be like, just so distraught. Because I was like, God, I miss my daddy. I miss this man, Lord. Like, what is going on? Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, Torino says you got to lean into the pain instead of running away from it.
So
Exactly.
real. That is so true.
Yep.
That's so real,
We
man.
don't deal with it; it'll deal with us.
That's real. That is
And
so
then
true.
we try and quiet that scream
Yeah.
by grabbing substitutions.
Yes. Yes. You speaking truth, man.
Maybe I can shut it up if I just work this hard. Maybe I
Yeah.
can shut it
Yeah.
up if I just try this relationship. Maybe I can shut it up if the substitutions never help, because
Yeah.
you still get brought right back to the confrontation.
And
So
look, you
true.
get brought back to the confrontation, and then you got to also deal with the result of your foolishness.
Right.
Of everything, yes, everything you messed in the substitutions. Yeah.
Like, man, I done spent all this money. Now I got to fix that, and I got to still cry about the fact that I'm going over this. So
Right.
you got to sit
Yeah.
in it. Dre says the stages of grief is never linear, never. And that's fact. That's true. Jacoby said that's how we get caught up in addiction, because we try to run from the pain. Clay, what are you doing? Are you outside in the debt in the Jesus Lord?
Did you go back to Seward?
No.
I
We
hear,
Got them
on a
crickets and
podcast. What are you doing?
I hear
Get back
all
in the
kinds
car.
of
Get back in the room. One of the two.
me in the car, man. Jesus.
Claire switched 3 different scenes. Lord, I thank you. Lord,
All I hear is crickets and
right.
locusts and all kind of stuff.
right. What a plague you got going on over there?
We don't need to hear about the plagues right now, Clay.
Jesus.
Corona, we would Corona be gone. Look, yeah, because we hear them crickets. We all them crickets. Thanks,
Right.
Walt says good to see men talking to men, and that's true. That is real, man. We have
That's
to
right.
do this. We have to do this, and man, it's so tough. And what's interesting is, like, I'm thinking, like, we've been friends for all these years, and it's still at times difficult to talk about some of the hard stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because as much as I know, I can say anything to you all, and it's and I'm not going to be received bad. It's still difficult to say it because it's just not so much because it's just uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, but you really, in the back of your mind, to Clay's point, like, says, like, how will they think less of me? Will they think I'm not strong? Will they think I'm not spiritual? Will they, you know what I mean? Like, and y'all done seen me do
Right.
every kind of foolishness known to mankind. So why is it that shh, don't tell Kyle. Shh, Kyle.
Hush, Kyle. Hush.
How is it that that we still as men struggle, like, to have this to talk?
It's like we feel like we got to have it all together, man.
Why? Like, why?
I don't know. I don't know. It's like it's been
taught.
taught to us, that, you the head of the household, and you got to do this and you got to do that. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, and like I was saying, it's not too many platforms that you have where people are actually where we're welcome to be that way,
Right.
and
Right.
we honestly don't feel like we will be judged or we will be castigated, or whatever you want to say. It's just not a lot of platforms that say welcome. It's okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
But even amongst like one another, you know what I mean? Like even amongst
Yeah.
one another, why is that difficult? Because I don't feel like I know, again, I personally might feel like judged, but I know good and well the most judgment y'all gonna do is talk about me for a minute, but we talk about everything. So why is each other all the time? So why is that different?
I think it's also an immediate reaction to fix it first before you give it time to actually be an issue.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that.
Okay. Walt says,
I mean, and it's
we avoid emotion. Go ahead, Terry. I'm sorry. Let me cut you off.
I was dang, I forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind.
Get the fat out your ear. Now, what was you about to say?
He probably, have you had supper? Have you had supper yet, Terry? Because if you ain't.
Okay, did you remember what you were about to say?
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, Jacoby says, when
man,
you go talk, man.
No, go ahead.
He says, when you don't want something to be true, you don't want to talk about it because talking about it gives validation to it. But since it's so already, we might as well talk. Since it's so already, we might as well talk about it.
Yeah, I believe that. It's like
And then sometimes
even after it happens, you're in denial. Yeah.
That struggles with your.
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
No, I was just saying sometimes you get a tug of war with your faith as well, because then you start hearing those words. If you speak it, then you're giving life to it. So I'm a man. I can't give life to something that I don't want to confront as a problem. So let me go ahead and rely on my faith to just deal with it, and you're not really addressing it.
Right. Yeah.
Walt says we mostly only feel slightly vulnerable, I believe, during intimacy. There's some truth to that. There's truth to that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that, again, we might not have the answer to that, but I think that for me, I know, especially after, like, I remember the conversation that the three of us, me, you, and Clay had after, like, my divorce and stuff, where we had the conversation where specifically Terry told me, if you ever don't tell me that you are in pain again, I'm gonna come up there and beat you up.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I could have talked to y'all, or realizing that's an expectation of our relationships. Like, we can't call ourselves friends if we don't have that space.
Right.
Say you're my brother if I also don't extend you the space to feel like that.
Right.
So, all right, we got one more question. Now we got last question here. This is actually one of my favorite questions. My favorite question is, why are conversations about death hardly ever heard in sermons, seminars, Bible classes, etc., aside from at funerals? That's my favorite question.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Man.
Yeah, we hear you, Clay.
Okay. For me, it was completely different. I grew up in a church where it seemed like all they talked about was death and going to heaven. I had the impression as a young child that this life that we live, you're going to suffer every day of your life. You're going to go through every day of your life, and all the joy you're going to ever have is when you go to heaven. So as a young child, I was like, it ain't nothing. It don't matter what I do in this life. Only joy, only peace I'm ever going to have is when I go to heaven. So it was almost like I was prepared for funerals. I was
Hmm.
prepared for death. And then as I got older and I visited other churches, like I visited some Church of God in Crisis and some Church of Living God, and it seemed like their message was name it and claim it, speak those things that are not as though they were. If you do this, God will do this, and everything will be okay, and just give and give. But nobody ever talked about, going through or suffering. Nobody ever talked about death. So it was like different denominations would kind of teach on different things and touch on different things. So it's like, for me, it's like I grew up hearing about death,
Hmm.
even though you would never want to experience death, but you knew death was gonna come. So that on my part, yeah.
Wesley, what you think? Because you're more of your teaching style is a little different.
Yeah, I don't really teach on a lot of death. You mostly see that in a lot of, maybe your Baptists or your, I don't know why that's not really talked about in a lot of churches, and really how to deal with death. You know,
Yeah.
we hear the good old, maybe it's the good old feel good messages that we're accustomed to, and typically when death is such a hard thing to deal with, I think maybe that's why a lot of ministers and a lot of pastors are not really teaching on it as much in their sermons. So.
Share what you think.
Yeah, I feel there's a over spiritualization of it because like I said before, it talks about that great day, that heaven, when we all get together in heaven. They even got songs about it, but they're
Oh
not
yeah.
dealing with the reality of it. And
Yeah.
and to say that is just to say the least of where some people are not even dealing with reality, like the current things that are going on in the world. A lot of pulpits are not going to talk about that. So death happens to be one of those things that is avoided. But if they do talk about it again, it's the heaven expectation. It's the I'm going to see my mother there. I'm going to see my father there. I'm going to see my grandmother there. So it's an over spiritualization of it, and not necessarily saying that that's wrong, but there is still the reality of death, the physical death, and the dealing with that, rather than a rejoicing of leaving the spirit, leaving the body.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a couple of thoughts about it. I think, Kyle, did you have something else to say? Did I cut you off?
I was just trying to figure out where Clay was going.
Back to the first place he was at.
I'm back. Can y'all hear me?
God,
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Country suing.
So I think
Go
it's
ahead.
I think it's a couple reasons why we don't hear it a lot. Number one, I think that it takes God, okay, I'm just gonna be honest. I think that first of all, talking about death and grief does not get people to give money.
Exactly.
Number one, let's just be honest. Like, you don't feel good after hearing a sermon like that. You're like, you know what? Let me write this check. This is a good check. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. No.
Right.
So I think that's one of it. I think another reason is, to be honest, is I don't think that a lot of pastors, a lot of teachers have a really good grasp on eschatology, and in order to teach about death and grief, you have to again sit into some ugly stuff, and even like we skip over the ugly passages all the time. Like, we just skip over
Yes.
anything
Yeah.
that we'll talk about David. We'll talk about David with Solomon, but we won't talk about, and address the fact or address the question whether or not did David sexually assault Bathsheba. Like, we ain't gonna ask that question.
Right. Yeah.
We're not gonna ask
Yeah.
that.
Right.
We're gonna say he killed her husband. So it's a lot of ugly stuff we don't deal with, because to deal with it then causes us to have to let people go home and kind of figure it out. And we're scared that people not going to do that. So I think that's a part of it. I
Right.
think, and we don't know how. We don't know. Again, we don't know how to address the eschatology. A lot of it is, I think, another part of it is, I think that it's really hard to talk about grief and to give a full understanding or a full understanding of grief in 30 minutes. And so you almost have to talk about it in a study that's going to take you hours, and most people don't have the attention span to sit there for 2 hours to talk about that. There is a process that, we'll talk about the 5 stages of grief, but that's really about it. So it's a process, and it takes a toll on you. And to tell somebody, like we'll say, like Clay said, in this life you'll suffer persecution, but be of good cheer, you'll already overcome the world, which is true. But
Right.
sometimes you got to stop at, in this life you will suffer persecution. Let's stop right here. Let's deal with persecution.
Hello. Hello
That-
back.
It's
Yes.
difficult to just leave in somebody's lap and say, let's talk about persecution. And let's talk about the fact that part of the persecution could be God allowing it. And part of the persecution could be because you trifling and you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. Like, how do you tell
Come on, Doc.
Preacher. Preacher.
of it and say, oh, by the way, I need 5 people. I hear the Lord saying that there are 1,500 people who need to give $100. With $100 right here. That's hard. That's difficult. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons. But I think we also have to come back and say, God is able to answer any question and deal with any situation, and we are invited to the process. So whether that means, hey, this is what Scripture says. We're gonna walk together through this Scripture, but this is really what Scripture says, and we got to wrestle with it together. And that might mean that you ask me some questions I don't know, but we trust God, and we just gonna walk through it.
Right. Right.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. It's hard to say,
Yeah.
Terry, for the next 6 weeks, you're gonna feel like a piece of crap. But at some point you might feel better.
Right.
Right.
That's
That's
hard.
real.
As a pastor, that's difficult to say. So I think that's why you don't hear it. I think those are some of the reasons why you don't hear it. Because again, I think we just don't have a good ethic. We don't have a good teaching. We don't have a good understanding of what grief and death and loss look like, and how at some point it could bring restoration. Like, I don't think we're not there yet, especially in the Black church, because as Clay said, all we talk about is by and by.
Oh, when
The sweet by and by.
all the saints
Yeah.
of God. And we sing them songs, and I'm telling you, I sing them songs in different keys, and
Yeah.
I'll sing it with a run, and I'll sing it with a piano. We out of piano, but after that, I'm like, Lord,
Now what?
what am I supposed to do
Now
now?
Yeah, and that's okay. I think that's okay. And I'm not against the songs, but I think a lot of that is slave teaching. When you're dealing with people who are enslaved, that teaching was good for what they needed to hear. And so now we're not there anymore. We got to progress to understand that it is His good pleasure. It is God's good pleasure for us now to have the kingdom.
Yeah.
It is His good pleasure now for us to live at peace. It is His good pleasure now. Yeah, and in the process of that, guess what? You're gonna suffer. They're gonna
Right.
be you're gonna suffer, because He also says that you got to take up your cross and follow me. And if you don't take up your cross, you're not worthy of me. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Living in those two realities at the same time.
Yeah. That's good teaching, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
The coach said, but is the reason why we don't hear it justification for not hearing it? No, not at all. There's no justification for it at all. I just think that those are the reasons why I don't. And I think it takes brave leadership and brave people to say, somebody to stand up and say, this might cost me an offering this Sunday, and this might cost a couple of people leaving because I didn't make this sound really pretty, but this is truth. And this is what the word says. So we're gonna stand on what the word says. And as Kyle used to say, He's either Lord of all
Not
Mhm.
Lord at all.
Lord
Come on.
at all.
Come on. Come on. Come on, sweet Jesus. My
So,
God.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
the Lord of all, or he's Lord and all. Listen,
Lord
my
at all.
God, today.
So,
Yay! Sweet Jesus. My
all right,
God.
y'all. This has been fun, y'all. This has been fun. This has been helpful. This has been healing. Yeah, Terry, how you want to end it? You want to end this a certain way? Since you called this meeting.
Man, honestly, I wanted this to be a space for anybody, not especially men, but for anybody that has lost a loved one, to know that it's okay to feel the pain. It's okay to be in the pain. It's okay to grieve. And it's okay to do it in your own time. You don't have to rush for anybody. But definitely try to find you a support team. Like my brothers right here, my family, a support team will definitely help your progress through the process. So I just pray that this has helped somebody like it has helped me. Because if it didn't help anybody, it definitely helped me. And love y'all brothers. I appreciate y'all for all of the support, all of the love. Man, I can't say thank you enough. But I love y'all to life.
There you go.
Love
Wesley,
it.
any final words?
Hopefully that we'll be able to do this again and dig in on a different topic. I think it's definitely beneficial for men to come together and address subjects from a raw perspective, and at the same time keeping a biblical sense, but just dealing with it from a raw perspective. I think it's we're fed up with the whole churchy type answers, and we want to give real answers for real solution, real answers for real problems is what I want to say. So definitely looking forward to doing this again, and I love you, brothers, and everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We do realize that you tarried a little while with us. As the Baptists would say, you tarried with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Glory to God. Hey,
Go
come
ahead.
on. Yeah.
Go ahead, Clay.
You know what you got?
Listen, man. Hey, I'm grateful for you, gentlemen. I'm grateful for the brotherhood. This was needed. Even though it took me 20 years or whatever, hey, I'm grateful. I'm thankful for you, gentlemen. And it has helped me. Like I said, it's brought up so many questions, so many answers. So I thank you all. I hope that we can do it again. I love y'all with all my heart. Um, as that old song says, there is a bright side somewhere. And I'm just glad that, I
Hold
can
on,
see
time
that bright side.
out.
Sing
You
it,
really,
Clay.
thank you. You really think you're gonna walk off of here now? You got to sing that. You can't say it. You got
Sing it, Doc.
well, go ahead. So Kyle can do his hand.
Come on.
Saying what? Saying what?
That song.
Go ahead. Whatever you with that song, because I don't even know that
You
song.
don't know that song?
No, I'm not that old Baptist. Come
Man,
on.
that's like one of them old Mighty Clouds of Joy songs,
I
bro.
go. I go. Let me hear it.
There's a
Sing
bright
it.
side somewhere. Ooh, there's a bright side somewhere. Don't you stop until you find it. Oh, there's a bright
Yeah.
Come on, Doc.
somewhere.
Is
Man,
there
y'all better
one?
go.
Is there one?
Listen, man.
How long was I out?
The
Ah,
doors of the church, the doors of the church are now open.
Yeah,
hey,
come on.
come on. No,
Come on, man. Come
Rabbi,
on.
Now
Rabbi,
unto him
Rabbi.
that is able to keep you from falling.
Now unto him. Come on. He is
Hey,
able to keep you
That
from
was good.
falling.
That was good.
He's
Listen,
able.
that was good. That was good, Clay. Terry, you got a song for us too before we go? Because I mean, you know,
No, I ain't following Clay. Mm-mm.
No, what I want to hear.
Go ahead, Winfrey.
Listen, Winfrey
Go
Burns.
ahead.
If you sing one worship
Winfrey.
song, listen, we're gonna be gone.
Yeah,
I'll
Winfrey, you
listen.
gonna have us at the altar.
Winfrey, if you already know, if you sang that worship song, it's over. I'm gonna
I
be
don't know.
laying on this floor.
I don't know what you're referring to. No.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-mm.
Glory to God.
Mm-mm. All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate you all for tuning in. Terry, Clay, Wesley. Man, listen.
they call me Mr. West.
All right, Kanye. I'm so proud of y'all, and I appreciate your friendship. There are not very many people who I call brother. There are not very many people who I know I can call at any time and will answer and respond. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate what you all are for your families. I told you to this, Terry and Clay. You guys, man, as fathers are amazing, and I appreciate y'all for being good fathers and good husbands and all of that stuff, man. So keep doing what y'all doing. So this has been good. The comments have been good. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Y'all, if you have not hit that share button, hit
Thank
the
you.
share button. We got to figure out how to do this again. So, all right, y'all. Y'all have a good night. I have to. Jacoby said, "Put me in C sharp." No, actually, I'm
I'm going to Wingstop.
Oh, you should have did what I did earlier. You ain't going to Wingstop after last night. You better not go to Wingstop.
Yeah, you better not. You better get you some good protein and sit down somewhere.
Detox tea. You have the detox tea. You do not need Wingstop.
Yeah, you don't need no. Yeah, because you ain't.
Boy,
You know
I
you
said
getting old
Jesus
when your
took the
bowels is
wheel.
stopped up.
He took the wheel.
All right, y'all have a good night. We'll
All
see
right,
y'all.
man. Love y'all.
All right,
All right.
love y'all.
All right.
Peace.
Yeah.